And we will go ahead and kick things off here in the room, and then we'll take some questions here on the Zoom. Percy, you want to go ahead and start us?
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Well,
Hey, just I'm just curious about how you plan to use this new building that you have that you haven't had before in the off season. And I haven't checked, I'm sure you know, but just what rules are they? What can you do with this place now that you have it? Obviously, I'm gonna assume that your players can be here, but how much can you bring other players in, and how much do you plan to use this place in terms of free agent recruiting?
yeah, I mean, with the free agency process, that can't happen until the free agency time period, legally, and we do things right here in Seattle. And for the players that are going to be here for some time, they have access to whatever they need. And that was the whole point of our ownership group, putting the players first and knowing that player health is important, but also longevity of their careers and giving them everything that they possibly can have in Seattle in order for them to be their best selves. So it's up to our players to utilize that, and to from weight room to sauna to you name it, it's in here, and that's the expectation level. I will be here because I have an office space now. I didn't have one previously, and I'll make the most of utilizing my resources as well.
And then just the off-season plans for you personally. What do you plan to do? And then the off-season plans for your team.
I probably should take a break, Percy, but I don't know. It's in the plans. I don't know that I will. I kind of I have to decompress a bit, and really take a good look at the season in a different lens of not being so like engulfed in it, but taking a step back and having a refreshed mind about it. I will continue to do what I always do, which is work on being the best coach that I can be. And whether it's, going to NBA, well, training camps are probably starting or are going to start, going to watch a lot of basketball, study a lot of basketball. I have an executive coach that I work with to continue to work on my leadership skills and all the things that are very important to me on my coaching journey. I'll spend some time in LA with my family, of course. And then, we have to think about our team. I think the process last year and signing big free agents in Sky and Nneka was a huge step after this previous season. And now we have to address, our deficiencies and knowing that there's an expansion draft coming, the draft, all the things that we have to prepare for in the off season. We'll talk with Talisa and Pokey about what the direction will be.
What is your general evaluation of this season for you personally and for the Storm as a team?
It's very hard because we just played last night, less than 24 hours. So I honestly haven't even rewatched the game. I haven't had an opportunity to think about that, honestly, Roberta. And I think from an overall big theme standpoint, I think it was a successful season, a turnaround season, a season that doesn't normally happen in this league right away. And I'm very proud about that. I think that, having 25 wins after only winning 11, finishing the year strong, 4 of our last 5, we found some rhythm there without, some key players on the floor, 2 starters out. There are moments in this season that I felt like were very positive. I think our defense was a huge highlight, a consistent highlight for us. I think, the addition of Gabby gave us a huge lift, and to see her flourish in this league is something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I want for her, and I hope that she felt good coming back and doing that in a Seattle Storm uniform. I already talked about, the addition of Sky and Nneka, the leadership that they showed, and growth in a lot of people. Jewell, Ezi, there's some growth that happened. Growth is not linear, And also, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. And there are a lot of those moments of adversity and trying to find our identity and through basketball games. And through it all, I would have to say it was a positive season. Now, I am a competitor, and, you know, I feel like we had enough to be in the finals. We did. But we will go back to the drawing board and figure this thing out and hopefully be competitive again.
And I'm sorry if it's too early to ask this question, but what concerns and what excites you about an expansion draft?
The excitement is that the league is growing. You know, I love that. New teams, more opportunities for players to come and play in the States, and even for overseas players that, you know, our league is global. So the fact that, you know, we're not just limiting you know, our women, our athletes. I love that. I love that for our whole entire existence. The concerning part is not knowing a lot of details about it right now. So I know we'll probably get a little bit more details coming up soon. You know, how you maneuver, how you protect, how you continue to build and grow off of a season like this, knowing that the team is not going to look the same. And, you know, obviously there's strategy around protection and all of those things that come with expansion, but that could be concerning, just not knowing, you know, who is going to be where. And so we'll see. This is my first one as well. As a coach, I've been through, I don't know if I was here for expansion as a player, but first one. So we'll see how that works as well. Yeah.
Wanted to build off that question about the expansion drafts. Obviously, waiting on details. This will be your first one, but have you and the coaching staff been able to do a little bit of recon just on maybe what to expect, knowing what the league did last time, or how has that process been?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, even through thinking about our free agency talks and all that, like the expansion was always a part of our talks. Because the reality of it is, you know, things are coming up, you know, expansion, but also CBA for the players, like all of these things that are going to change the landscape of the league and teams and all of those things. So, you know, you can try to prepare for that, and you can go back and see what happened in the previous year, but I feel like it's just different, you know, and rules, regulations, and all those things may alter a little bit because of where we are in this league. And so I think it's just a matter of waiting on those details and just executing after we hear it.
And this will be a process that will be new this time, but you'll get a hang of it with the expansions that we know are coming, and maybe some forthcoming. So when you think about the off season, how does that change and how you as an organization are structuring things to make sure that you are still a team that is operating at that championship caliber?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can probably talk about it, it begins with the protection, you know, making sure we're protecting our assets and being smart about that. You know, and then we also after expansion is free agency. So just knowing, like, you know, what the recon, like you're saying, like knowing what expansion team may or may not choose because of the rules on that, who's been cored, whatever. And then knowing who's a free agent and just trying to build pieces around our strong core.
And you've already talked about how you haven't seen the full game, but you talked about how you felt that this season was a success. And it seems as though the Seattle Storm is putting things in place to make recruitment a little bit easier. This facility being one of them. And I get the sense that it's beyond just the facilities. It's beyond just being in the hunt for a championship. There are culture things as well. And so that's what I'd like to ask you, Coach Quinn. As you sit here right now, what are some of the buttons that you want to press and that you want to have open conversations with when it comes to the organization about how to maybe massage culture and really level it up to where you want to be competitive in the league, but then also in all of the other elements of recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult sometimes in free agency. You don't have a lot of time to get to know players, but because we have such an amazing staff with experience, former players and Eb and myself and former coaches and Polk and even Perry being around the G League and NBA, I think we have enough resources as a coaching staff to kind of understand who we want here. Seattle has a standard of excellence, and not just winning championships, but how you approach your craft, how you show up to work, who you are as an individual, being a great teammate, and really, really being disciplined. And I think those are the type of players that we want here. High character, that we're going to add value in the locker room, add value not only on the court, but in the community, to the organization in ways that is not only seen by putting the ball in the hoop or winning games. And that's who I want here. People who want to be here, people who are bought in to a standard of excellence that doesn't waver through the good and the bad, and lock arms with everyone in the locker room and to attain a goal. Now it's difficult going through a season and trying to do something amazing. But if you have high character, high quality people in your locker room, then it's that much more rewarding because everyone is standing 10 toes down and really committed to the process. So I will start there, just utilizing our resources, continuing to ask management to continue to get players and staff in here that just want to rock out in a positive way and really, really show who Seattle is.
We've got about 3 minutes left with Coach. We're going to take some questions from Zoom. We'll start with Kevin and then go to Jeff. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, was there a frustration having the regular season you did and then not being able to play a playoff game at home in front of your fans?
Definitely. I think that we worked really, really hard to get to the 5th spot. Honestly, with 25 wins, I think that should warrant something. Our fans were so great all season, and I think that they deserve to see a postseason play. Our organization deserves it, and the city deserves it. The team deserves it, to have an opportunity to, show what we've worked for all year long. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll go to Jeff and then Christian.
Yeah, Coach. With Gabby and Nneka kind of being your probably top priority free agents, have you had a chance to have conversations with them, like as far as exit interviews?
My meetings actually start after this, so I haven't, but those guys are locked in. They're solid. They love it here, and they've expressed that. But at the end of the day, they are free agents, and they can have the pick, any pick, honestly, of a team. So that's why it was so important that their experience here was A1. I think they both expressed that they love being in Seattle. They love what Seattle is about. And so hopefully that was enough.
And I feel like even in this interview and yesterday, there's been some kind of maybe talk about either disappointment with effort or not playing with enough pride with the Storm jersey and stuff. Kind of a little bit of a disconnect. Even the players kind of hinted at that a little bit. Is that something you think can be mended as far as worked on and fixed with the current squad, or is it maybe, having to change up some things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, sometimes when I talk to you guys, it's immediately after a high emotional situation. And even today, I don't feel like I've had enough time to evaluate thoroughly. So I don't want to, speak out of just high emotion. There's some reality to the fact that our team has to change, Jeff, because of their expansion draft, so, and free agency, every year a team looks a little bit different. And so the hope is to continue to bring in players that have that mindset that we've been kind of harping on all year, and the players that are going to be here and remain here to make sure that, that's never the topic anymore. Pride, effort, those things should never be, those things should always be a top of mind and on our hearts and how we show up to play, because it's, we can't take an opportunity like this for granted. Can't waste time. We can't waste moments. And I think that that's going to continue to be the sentiment.
Thank you, Noe.
Got time for one last quick question from Christian. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, Coach. I believe it was yesterday. You said you felt like you were on borrowed time. I was just wondering, as a head coach in this league, could you expound on what you meant by that statement?
Not only kind of as a coach, but I think in life, like you just never know. And not to talk about another player, but sorry, the young lady from Connecticut. What's her name? Yes, Tiffany, right? Mitchell. Sorry, thank you. Like, we didn't know what she was going through all season. And for her to be healthy one day and unhealthy in another. Sorry, I'm getting emotional about it because that's what I mean. Like, we just never know when our time is up in life, not just only in a Seattle Storm coaching position or basketball player, just in life. And so you have to approach what you do with a gusto about it, like with a passion about it, with an understanding about it that it's not given to you at all. And for me, yeah, I'm a head coach that despite maybe a successful season to some, may not be successful to others because of the expectation here. When I'm saying I'm on borrowed time, I'm talking about my life in general. I might not be here tomorrow. So this is why I go so hard. This is why I'm so grateful for an opportunity that I will not, that a lot of people don't get, I should say. And so when I say I'm on borrowed time, it is a sentiment that I hold in my heart because in the time that I have on this earth, I'm gonna show people who I am. I am a positive light. I am a hard worker. I will do my best for this organization. I have pride for the city. I have pride for this team. I have pride for my players. I have pride for my staff. I have pride for, my family to show, to give them what they've given me, just a lot of love and support. I have pride in that. So I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste moments. I want to win. I want to show everybody I'm a winner. And I want people to have that same sentiment.
All right, thanks, Coach. We
Thank
appreciate it today, and we'll be bringing in Nneka Ogwumike in just a minute. Let's go ahead and start here in the room. Percy, do you want to start us out?
Hey, Nneka, how you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
Hey, you're obviously going to be a coveted free agent. Just when you sort of think about that, what's coming up for you? This is your second straight year sort of doing it. What type of early thoughts that you have with that? How do you plan to maybe balance that with what may be coming your way to what's familiar?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean maybe coming my way?
In terms of recruiting offers, in terms of people wanting you to be with their team as opposed to sort of knowing what you have here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously this last free agency was the most eventful one that I've had. And I'm glad that I was able to be a part of the Seattle family this year. So I'm going to approach it as openly as I can, knowing exactly where I had great success and knowing what I want to achieve individually and also collectively with groups of people that I really do respect.
Nneka, I want to ask you about the future of the Players Association, the potential next CBA. My MBA thesis was on what is coming next, and after charter flight and high value media deal, I would say that 90% of the people said that revenue share was the main concern for players. Do you agree with that? And do you think that with this new media deal, it is more likely that the WNBA players are going to have a more equitable share of the league revenue?
I mean, I think that I do agree that players are concerned about revenue share amongst many other things. For my position as president, what's most pressing right now is getting a high voter turnout for the opt-out decision. So I can't really say what will yield from that. I can say that players do want to have their value reflected in CBAs moving forward, in contracts moving forward, and all the things that include numbers that we don't have full transparency on. So growing in the direction of having that visibility for us to be able to adequately value ourselves, especially as we see the growth of the business, is something that I know players are talking much about right now.
When we caught up at All-Star, you were open that there were some things that were difficult to transition from to being with a new organization, whether it was in the huddle or just, the things that are kind of second nature. Now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect, how would you assess what that transition for you has been like? You alluded to that this was the busiest free agency that you've ever had, but it did result in a relocation. So how would you just assess what this process has been like for you? What were some of the more difficult parts, and what was the most enjoyable part for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming to terms with leaving what felt very much like home was probably the hardest part of the beginning of the transition. I think I mentioned this at All-Star, like deciding that, I was going to leave LA was kind of the biggest part of me making my decision. And then, of course, being more open to what other organizations could offer, and also being a part of franchises that, that want to lead the pack. And I obviously ended up in Seattle, and I'm very grateful that I did. And ultimately, really being in a new place, but then also feeling very represented with the coaching staff. That's something that I have not ever experienced. And they made me a better professional and a better player for it, especially being coached by a Black woman who played in this league, who is being positioned by mostly women owners. I think that that's something that spoke to my ethos. And I think it also speaks to the progress that I hope to see in myself and also as a part of an organization. I would say that like the challenges perhaps were, no longer necessary, like being the new kid on the block, I guess you could say. Not that it was necessarily challenging, but it was a different space that I hadn't occupied in so long. And so kind of navigating being like the new kid, and leaning into the vulnerabilities that offers, or I guess that welcomes, and knowing when to not do too much, knowing when to, step in and insert myself, because I think in my career, I've evolved into the player that is very, I guess, kind of like matronly, and is someone um, who tries to lead by example, get ahead of things, ensure that the chemistry in the locker room is where it needs to be. And navigating that, to me, I think, was probably the most challenging part of my experience.
We've got time for one, maybe two questions on Zoom. We're going to start with Jeff, and we'll see if we have any time to go to any more.
Nneka, I know you're going to be an unrestricted free agent, but do you feel comfortable like going to coaches and ownership and kind of not necessarily like putting in demands, but like asking for certain things, to return next season?
I mean, I wouldn't frame it that way. I think that, after a season, there's feedback, of course, and it's important to be introspective and reflective of that over the course of the season. And then ultimately at the end, when the intention is for the organization to be better. And even coming into such a fantastic franchise like Seattle, I think that what really drew me here was the want to uphold integrity and to sustain success in a way that puts us in front. And so I'm someone who has always been a solution-oriented person, solution-based, and I love being collaborative and innovative in ways to figure out how, me, a team, a group, an organization that I'm a part of can be in front. And I think that requires diversity of thought. I think that requires effective, constructive criticism. I think that requires levels of individual and collective accountability. And I'm not afraid to talk about those things.
Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. We're going to let Nneka go on to the next station, and we'll bring in Skylar Diggins-Smith. All right. We are set to
Mascara
go.
wouldn't kill me.
Set to go with Skylar Diggins-Smith. Well, again, we'll start in the room. Just one question, please, and then we'll try to get to as many as we can. Proceed.
Hey, Sky, how you doing? Just in this time around, with you kind of being here and under contract, how much do you plan to play a role now in maybe possibly recruiting people here, recruiting players that you want to play with to like get this team to a place that you want it to go?
Yeah, I am. I'm already doing it with Nneka Ogwumike, who's a free agent next year. You know what I'm saying? And so, yes, absolutely. I think the special thing about this place is that we have a lot of connections, especially the longer you're in this league, I'll just say the more connections that you make. And, the more hungry, you become to win championships, and you have to be in a place that can attract veterans, that can attract people, that can attract free agents. And I think this is one of those places. Obviously, I'm speaking from experience, having been one of those free agents. But the resources that we have here are as good as anywhere. The facilities, we have brand new practice facility, all those amenities there and resources. Like I talked to, I mentioned something in our locker room, like raise your hand if you ever stayed at a Holiday Inn. Or put a finger down if you ever stayed at a Holiday Inn, put a finger down if you ever had a check bounce in a WNBA, put a finger down if you ever had a roommate, put a finger down if you carried your loot to the game, put a finger down if you, and it's like only me and Nneka could really kind of like identify. I just say all those things to like, I've been in this league like a long time, you know what I'm saying? And you can't take things like this for granted. Put your hand down, put a finger down if you ever not had a weight room. You know what I'm saying? Like those things. When you're on this league for a long time, you learn a lot of things, and you don't take things like this for granted. I'll just say that. And other people realize that, how special it is to have those things. But I know that because I haven't had any of those things at a point in time. So I ain't trying to get deep. I'm just saying, like, that's just like, I was reflecting on that yesterday. We said that walking with Ezi. It was me and Nneka, Ezi. We were just walking, talking about that. Like, and Nneka was like, yep, all those things, and so you can't take the game for granted. You can't cheat the game. You got to respect the game, and realize like it's a privilege to put this jersey on every day.
Skylar, can you walk us through this process of you kind of becoming the leader of this team in terms of like being, I feel like the energy of the team changed for the best on the court after the press conference when you called the team out for the energy. Why you felt very comfortable doing that? Can you walk us through that process? And, do you consider yourself a natural leader?
I do consider myself a natural leader. I feel like I've been a leader of this team all year. And to me, leadership is not just about position. It's about action. It's about how you conduct yourself. It's about the work that you put in. Can you lead by example? Can you be a professional? Can you be prompt? Can you do the hard things? And would you follow yourself? And I say yes to all those things. I played 42 games this year. The most games I've played, 40 games in a regular season after coming back off of maternity leave. That was the biggest accomplishment for me. And it was for the people that work with me every day, starting with Noe, like I came here to play for Noe and with Nneka, and to be aligned with leadership like Nneka, who's doesn't get as much credit as she should for the progression of this league and where we are today. Like Nneka could be very well our next commissioner. You know what I'm saying? Everybody would be fine with that.
and what she does. And so to be aligned with that kind of leadership, I always wanted to, I've been in the locker room with Nneka, but like I always say, in perpetuity, to be able to share this experience with her. I don't know if I've been able to make it through this year in that sense, just going through all the transformations and all the change, if I didn't have somebody like that, with me. Mm-hmm.
Greetings from someone who's now a Tulsa resident. So
right
I
on.
might be
Yeah,
able to
shout
put
out.
some fingers down as well. Anyway,
Shout out you too.
You talked about leadership, and I think it's interesting to be in a role and to take on that leadership role when you are also new to a team, to an organization, to a system. And so I know you haven't even been given 24 hours, but what is that next process like for you and your leadership, evaluating and assessing what happened here in Seattle in the context of this season for you and your leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be some reflection, obviously feel like I made a lot of strides in my leadership. Just even the connection that I had with my coach and being very intentional about that was something that wasn't present the last time I was on the floor. And so just being very intentional about coming here with no ego. I know I wasn't the franchise player of this team. But it's just really, to me, was a body of work that they didn't know me personally. Noel didn't know me personally. Pokey didn't really know me personally. But I think my body of work spoke for itself, and that's the type of people that they wanted around this organization and to be aligned with this organization. And so naturally, I think that my reputation preceded me in that sense, and just trying to make sure that I'm a positive person, but I'm also a real person. I'm okay with criticism. I'm okay with talking about change. I'm okay with uncomfortable conversations. I'm fine with having those conversations because that's the only way you get better. And so I can honestly say I brought no ego into this situation, but I really wasn't in a position to really lead like this at first because it's not my team. But I think by my actions and how I conducted myself and just how can I continue to be a better pro? How can I be a better teammate? How can I be a better leader? TBD. I'm healing. I'm not healed. It's a process, but I'm definitely open to that. And then just reflecting on being a mama too, for a year or so and what that meant, trying to navigate that kind of like work-life balance here. And wearing those hats and how that meant for me, how I approached this team. Trying to be more delicate maybe than I would have been in the past. And kind of like a nurturing spirit. I didn't have to mother anybody. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like having that disposition, I think helped me as a leader and how it translated. And it may not have translated to everybody. There's no doubt in that. I know I may not have been everybody's cup of tea in that locker room or whatever case may be. People have relationships formed from the past, whatever. Excuse me, but I felt like I brought a lot of value to this organization this year. And I want to continue to do that, this last year in my contract.
Got time for one quick one on Zoom. Kevin Pelton, go ahead.
Hey, Skylar, what's your approach to this offseason leading up to this exciting new opportunity with Unrivaled?
Yeah, more basketball, more reps, like more competition. I really wanted to come into this season feeling like I feel now as far as in shape, feeling more comfortable, my legs under me. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll get the opportunity to play against a lot of tough competition and guard and be in those situations that, will help me a lot translate into, how I play in a Seattle Storm uniform from the game one. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Shout out to Stewie and Fee for bringing that to fruition. And I'm excited to be a part of the inaugural season. But I'll be here. I'll be working. I'll be in the gym with Noe. I'll be in the gym, with Marcus Tibbs, like per usual. And, I'm looking forward to getting some reps in. I guess that's not really been my thing in the past. But, I'm looking forward to some off-season competition, some bump.
Skylar, thank you very much for your time.
Right on.
We'll have.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, just haven't had a chance to talk to you in about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. So just with your injury, just how did it happen? And I hate to kind of put like 4 questions into one, but just how did it happen? How did you feel with it? And how did it affect you in these 2 games here?
Yeah, it was just a misstep, body shift. Honestly, just a random injury. Like honestly, like I couldn't. If I tried to do it again, I probably couldn't. It just happened like wrong timing, kind of thing. And I've been really healthy. I never really had any
issues with my knees. So that was, something to adjust into. And luckily, came back and got looked at from, a good doctor and found ways to kind of get better. Yeah, I mean, moving forward, I felt, I set out those games and, I made sure that in the bigger picture of things, like if I'm not fully ready to go, I don't want to go and risk anything. That was a decision made by our medical staff and myself as well. And I mean, the last two games and even going into playoffs, I felt really good. No pain, no nothing. So if anything, it was just, I don't know. I felt good.
Think just any like off season, stuff needed for that?
No, I'm good. Yeah, it's like I said, it was literally just a random thing. Maybe that's what happens when you hit 30, things just kind of flare up. You're just like, I don't know what happened, but yeah, I need a couple days to recover here. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what I did. Like I literally just hit the TV and like now I have a cramp. I don't know. It's one of those things. So
Jewel, you've been with this team for the longest, I think, in this roster, and I'm gonna ask you the same thing that I asked Noe. What most excite you and what most concern you about the expansion draft?
I mean, obviously super exciting. One, because you know how much talent that is in this league and how much talent that doesn't get a chance to stay in this league. So you understand that, and I think just where the game is going and the talent level, and even the rise of coaches that are trying to be at this level, it gives everyone an opportunity to share their gifts. So I'm excited just to see that and see different fan base, another dynamic of that, maybe another new rivalry, things like that you need to have in leagues to keep the momentum and also build it out. And so I think that's going to be really cool to see, just jerseys and all these things that, it's just another, it's kind of like a new toy, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're so excited about it. So I think it's going to be really cool just for the growth of the league. And concerning, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have that many concerns. I'm kind of excited for it because I think if you don't do it, you never know the result of it. There's always, I think, the concern of if you grow too fast, I don't know this, or maybe the team won't be good and that team might be bad. Well, you got to start somewhere, right? Like you got to build somewhere. And if this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to do it. And so I'm excited for it. And I think the reaction from the fans have been amazing. I think people have been waiting and asking for expansions for a while. And so now we're in the time and place to do that. So let's do it.
To Roberta's point, you've seen a lot of different iterations of the Seattle Storm in your tenure here. And I want to ask you about year over year specifically. So thinking about last year, throughout the regular season, how things ended, and now less than 24 hours after this one. But, what stands out to you as far as progress, as far as maybe things that you'd like to see the organization continue to push the needle on? And what does that mean for maybe you, if you've given it any thought for your off season and how you can continue to elevate your game?
Yeah, I mean, last year for the team and the people that were here, the fans that rallied with us, we won 11 games, right? It wasn't the season that we expected or whatever. It was just a season, right? A season of growth. And usually when you're told that, or the idea of, okay, we're probably going to be in a rebuild, things have happened. Okay, like ideally it's like, okay, maybe 2-3 years we'll have a change and we'll build on that. And we were very fortunate enough to, it only took us a couple months to kind of have a different roster, a different feel, a different building, right? All these things kind of add up. And so, for that, like I'm so proud of how this team came together. I'm so proud of how we played. It's not easy to put teams together and then compete and still elevate, right? And the person that keeps coming to mind, obviously, is Jordan, right? Her growth of a rookie, how she played this season, how she played in the playoff game, right? Her first playoff series ever, and she's locked in and focused. So you have players like that, Ezi and all these things, like you have to find a positive. That's awesome. I mean, to go from 11 games to 20, 25, make the playoffs, all these things, like that's not easy. It's definitely in this league, it's not easy. And so having that mindset, it's awesome. And going to the second step of your question, organizational wise, I think it's super important that I feel with my experience here in the league and my experience here in Seattle, the biggest thing is the value of people, and we keep that the main front. We keep that the focus. I think the sky's the limit for this organization and for the players. I think that's the biggest focus, is making sure that I kind of said this kind of during COVID, but also going here is like people need people. no matter what you think about it, no matter what, at the end of the day, you ask for help, like, you need people. And so I think that's the value, and that's kind of how I see, and that's kind of how I lead as well. So I understand that everyone's really valuable, and to really impact and, empower that. So for me, going into the off season, this is a different season for me. This is the first time in my career where I haven't hit my benchmarks. And I mean, when I say career, I mean even from like 8th grade, right? Like, so that's a new experience for me. And so there's factors that go into that, but at the same time, I'm taking ownership in how this season and how I went and how I play this season. And, my job is to get better every year. And so it's the first year I feel like I fully haven't got better. But I definitely had a growth. So it's like different, it's like maybe the basketball wasn't there, but my leadership and the person I am has grown. So I think for people who know me, definitely my parents as well, you want to see that growth as a person, right? Like, you want to see that evolution, because that's what's going to sustain you. Basketball is only 10% of my life, right? But if I'm not growing as a person, then something's not right. So for me, it's to go home, rest, be around, an amazing environment of people, and get right back to work.
Take some questions on Zoom, Kevin, and then Jeff.
Skylar mentioned she's already started kind of re-recruiting Nneka to ahead of free agency. You were obviously a big part of her decision to come here. How much do you want to also be involved in that sort of re-recruiting process with her in free agency again?
Even with this process coming, it kind of happened organically. I'm a big believer, if it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be. And, I'm always willing. I told Nneka this too when she was going through, and she reached out to me. I'm going to give you the truth. I'll be honest with you. And I'm not a politician. I'm not paid to recruit you. You have a reason why you want to be here too. You have a vision for the team and teams you want to see, and build a vision for your career. So if I could help, encourage that, if that's the same and we align, that's what brought her here, right? We aligned on so many things, and we saw a vision, and we believed in the players that were here. And, it's the same thing. My job is to make sure everyone has all the facts, and you can do what you want with that. And I think that's kind of where I've kind of been with just this off season too. And how I am, like, I want to be honest with you, but in the day, it's your choice, it's your decision. And if you look at how Nneka played this year, it's phenomenal. She almost had a 180 season, right? It's unbelievable. She hasn't, shot less than 50% her whole career. So you want, a caliber player like that around, right? You don't want to, it's not oh yeah, let's see you later. It's like, no, like, okay, how can we keep this team together, right? How can we evolve and elevate each other and have the same goals, right? So I know that it's every time anyone's at free agency and things like that, it's I don't think it's fully about basketball either. It's like, what do you want in your life and all these things, and if it matches up, let's go. So my job is to give everybody, not just her, but anyone, all our teammates, all the facts, let them marinate with that, and they can decide for sure.
Let's go to Jeff, and then if we have time, we'll hit Christian. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Jewell, a little while ago, I had talked to you about what it meant to you that the team had added Nneka and Skylar and Gabby and everything. And you had talked also about, eventually it gets to a point where the players got to, put the ball in the basket. The players kind of got to get it done on the court. Unfortunately, you guys lose to Las Vegas in that playoff series. Do you think it's just like the fact that that Vegas team has had that championship chemistry together for a few years now? Do you think that was the big difference in the playoff series, or do you think the Storm need something more?
It's kind of, when you have a team, like you said, the Aces have been together for a while, it's kind of like, exactly what things are. There's no miscommunication. And if there is, it's quick, because you kind of have a vibe. I've been a part of a team like that, where we've been together for so long, and you didn't have to say anything. We kind of just did it. But for us, I am so proud of this team. It's not easy to put a team together and then have the season that we had last year, get in the playoffs, have different personnel, different style of play, and then having to realize, what's good, what's bad, good shot, bad shot. How does people, like, even just like where people want the ball, like knowing how to pass it and catch it around the shooting pocket. Those things take some time. So I'm so happy with how our players really just came together. A lot of it was sped up by communication. And I think with that series, I mean, we've played Vegas so many times, it's always a great series. I think the fans probably enjoyed it way more because, Washington is good basketball and it's high level basketball. And so we understand that. And I think for us moving forward is, I think for me, it just goes back to, how do we elevate, right? Like, what's our edge? How do we elevate each other? How do we elevate our play? How do we get better? I mean, I don't think it was a shock, everyone's harping on, the 2-point quarter, things like that. And it's like, for us, it's like, how do we just elevate? How do we get better? Like, who can we elevate? And like, how can we empower each other more to be our best selves every single time? Is it more high fives? Is it more, cookouts? Like, what is it? Is it building more culture? Things like that. And I think that plays a role in it. I think that's what we can evolve in, but we're first year together. Like, and obviously, we put this roster and everyone's goal was to win a championship, right? That's not a secret. That's why we played the game, but it's our first year together. So, there's a lot of positives that could be taken away from this season.
Thank you, Jewell.
And that's all the time we've got with Jewell. Jewell, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have Ezi Magbegor here.
Hey, Ezi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Haven't talked to you in a while, like 2 weeks. And so I'm just really curious about just your injury. I was trying to look at it and just from your perspective, how did it happen? Had you ever had anything quite like that happen to you before? How did you get through it? And how did it affect you during the playoffs?
Yeah, I've never had an injury. That was my first concussion. So I just got hit in the eye with someone's forearm, and that night, like, my vision was kind of blurry. So I ended up going to the hospital in Dallas. Everything was fine. They said it should clear up, and then I started to feel like pretty nauseous and dizzy the next morning when we got back to Seattle, and was like throwing up and just felt extremely nauseous. And so those symptoms kind of just stuck for a few days. And so with concussions, you just have to wait for the symptoms to go away. And so I think that was the frustrating part, like just not knowing when they were going to go away. And you can't do anything, like you can't exercise, you can't shoot. It's not like a normal, I guess, like physical injury. And so just had to take it day by day. And, thankfully the symptoms subsided relatively quickly. So just had to go through protocol, follow the 5 steps to get back on court. But I'm feeling good. Like, I feel fine now. Thank you.
Good to know you're feeling better. I mean, 2 big tournaments this year, WNBA and Olympics. How do you feel that your role with the Storm and the Australian team blend? Do you see you having similar roles in both teams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2 different teams. Obviously, I think a bigger role in national team, just with the role that I have been given. And obviously, in Seattle, we have so many great players, in Australia as well. But I think obviously just roles change no matter what team you're on. But I think, the confidence that my teammates and coaches instill in me doesn't change and doesn't waver. So they still expect me to be aggressive, still expect me to play my game, a defensive presence. And so I think it's just about, being able to do that on various teams and just doing what the team needs from me. At different moments. Thank you.
And going off of what Obeda asked, I want to ask you about the year over year, both for the Seattle Storm, knowing what the team went through and how you were able to combat that and finish the way you did this year, but then also for you, if at all you've been able to kind of assess what have you seen or how have you seen your role change and what will that look like, do you hope, in the future for Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this year we came in with a pretty new team. We added, Sky, Nneka, Tori, a few new players, and I think, it's great with what they bring to our team, just the skill, the experience, the leadership. And obviously, roles are going to change. I think, as I said earlier, like the expectation from coaches and players doesn't change for me. I think just kind of figuring out, your role on the team, where you fit offensively, defensively. So yeah, I think for me, I have to, learn to be more, I think aggressive, like obviously knowing who I'm on the court with, just knowing, I'm able to play my game too. I'm able to still be aggressive offensively, I think more so, and just find that consistency throughout the season, not having like ebbs and flows. So yeah, just being able to be more consistent, I think, is something I'll be hoping to do next season.
Let's go to Zoom and take a question from Kevin, and then we'll go to Jordan. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Ezi, what's your plan for the international season? And did you get any break after sort of going Europe into WNBA into Olympics back to WNBA?
Yeah, I actually do get a break. So I am going back to Europe, but I don't have to report until the end of November. So I get a couple months, which is something I haven't had in years. So I'm just gonna, take some time off, be in Australia for a lot of that time. But yeah, I'll be in Prague. So the same team I was playing for last season, but not until the end of November.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jordan and then Jeff. Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Ezzy, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So I wanted to talk about your relationship with Nneka, your new front court partner this season. I guess just talk about what was it like building that chemistry with her and how she kind of helped you evolve into a better player, both on and off the court.
Yeah, I think obviously knowing that when we had signed Nneka, I was really excited to play with her, just knowing the type of person and player that she is. And, I've obviously admired from afar just being her opponent. And obviously it's better having her on our team. Um, but I think my relationship with her has grown, over the season and just um, being able to see how she plays the game and how she goes about the game is really something that I have admired about her and seeing the way she leads the team, and just sees the game, I guess from a post perspective too. Like it's always, you're used to guards kind of seeing the game and reading the game and having a lot to say, but seeing her be able to do that in the position that she is has been really, I think great for me because knowing that I'm, capable of doing that as well. But yeah, I love playing with Nneka. She's an amazing person first and foremost, and a great player, as you guys saw this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jeff and then Christian. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Ezzy, from what you remember about the 2020 championship team, how was that team different than this one? Because just from a roster standpoint, both were pretty well stacked.
Yeah, I think obviously in 2020 the team had been together for a while. I was, the only addition to that roster, and so I think when you have a team that's been together for a while, you obviously have that chemistry. The offense just kind of flows pretty seamlessly at that point. And so I think, we have a new team this season, and I think it is, whether you like it or not, going to take time for that chemistry to build. And we had training camp together, we had the season together, but I think, going forward, it's something that's still going to have to build in terms of chemistry, in terms of just knowing each other. That's going to take time, and it's something that you can't rush. But yeah, I'd say that those are the differences between the two seasons.
Thank you.
Got time for one last question from Christian. Christian, go ahead.
Hey, Essie, hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best seasons that you've had in the W so far. I mean, first half of the season, especially to the second half, you were one of the main players that head for getting that depoy. And then also just on the offensive side of the court, with all the things that you brought to the floor that kind of didn't make the stat sheet. I was kind of wondering, could you explain one or two things maybe that you're most proud of yourself this season? Things that you accomplished.
I don't really like talking about myself.
That's
But
why I asked.
I probably would say my number one role in like living in that. So we were given like roles at the start of the season, and my number one role was to be the defensive anchor for this team. And I feel like I was able to do that. Obviously, sometimes offense isn't going to go your way, or sometimes you're not going to be able to get into rhythm that way. But I think that was something that I could always fall back on, just whether it was blocking a shot or just helping out my teammates on the defensive end. I think that's something I'm really lucky that I can fall back on, because sometimes you need those things to kind of just get back into the game. So yeah, I'd say I can give you one thing and I'd say I'm proud of that.
Thank you.
Sounds good, Ezi. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have Gabby in here in just a minute.
Thank you, guys.
Just in terms of like a big picture question, just in terms of you and your career, just from the UConn and from Chicago and then early season here, what's the best version of you? Because we think that we've kind of seen it, and I'm sure you've heard it, and it always feels that people are trying to untap, the next Gabby Williams. But do you have like a picture in your head as to what you should be doing, how it's going to look like, and then that going into next season? Are you just ready for that all-star level now? Are you ready to like take over this league now? Just what's next for you?
Well, one day at a time. Um, to your point, I think my journey has like definitely led me here. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, all-star next year or anything like that. I'm always just trying to get better every single day. It has been a little bit frustrating being a point guard in high school and then going to UConn and being the center and then becoming the point center at UConn and then coming to Chicago and becoming a point guard again and then being a four. And it was frustrating because I could never really have like a year or two where I was just, got to work on one thing or one position. But looking back at things, I think all of that kind of created who I am today because it allowed me to have who else gets to play that many positions and learn from so many different aspects of the game. So I've had to learn how to rebound. I've had to learn how to guard bigs. I've also had to learn how to handle the ball, how to make decisions like a point guard. But ultimately, being here and being in this role in Seattle is who I've kind of always wanted to be. And okay, I'm 28 now. It's taken me like 6-7 years to kind of finally have a franchise who has confidence in me in the position that I want to play. But I'm happy to have had those other experiences because it's allowed me to grow as a player.
Hi, Gabby. I think that you have this special awareness of internationality in basketball. How do you think the WNBA could do better to international players and fans?
Yeah, I mean, I got quite a bit of like clapback just because I mentioned that there were other countries on the map. I don't know if people just hadn't seen a map before, but apparently it like blew people's mind. But I was saying that in the scheme of things, that when I talk about prioritization, I understand that, you need to have players here. It is hard to come late, I admit. But the W thinks that they don't have to pay us more in order for us to be here. And I think I didn't express that when I first talked about prioritization. Our commissioner talked about us being able to, make 700,000. That's not true at all. There's not one player who makes that. And we were promised, team marketing agreements and league marketing agreements, but they've fallen quite short. So it's still not enough for us international players to want to stay here. And that's a choice of the players. If I make a choice to make more money and whatever, and then teams are mad that I don't come back, but that's how it is. So yes, it just the WNBA, if you want us to be here, you have to pay us more. It's business, it's how it works, and that's all that means. For fans, if you are able to still support us, like you're still able to watch our games by, a lot of us do play in other leagues, and you're going to see a lot more players in Rival. You're going to see a lot of great talent in EuroLeague. We have a lot of WNBA players going to China too as well. So you can still follow and support your favorite players throughout the year. They don't have to just be in America in order to support them. We also have international competitions. I know we have Eurobasket coming up. I think there's a Pan Am Games this year, if I'm not mistaken. So there's still plenty of ways to follow and support your favorite players.
Gabby, you talked already about having to switch positions throughout your career on the basketball court. I'm curious, though, when it came to returning to Seattle for this particular season, coming off of the very epic Olympics, when you think of how you prioritized what you wanted to impact and those conversations with the coaching staff, what was that to begin with, and how, if at all, did they evolve getting to the playoffs?
So yeah, we talked about the French Army knife comparison, and it was pretty obvious that I was here to just like, okay, what does the team need? What do they need me to do? Noe was like, okay, we need someone who can, get our offense flowing a bit better, who can help move the ball, who can be that glue player, connect some of our scores on the court. And I think it evolved into me having to take on a bit more offensive responsibility. To be honest, before maybe it was being more of a facilitator, just hit open shots, get stops on defense. But now, as the season went on, I found myself like having to score more, be more aggressive, and kind of be that, take on a bit more of that responsibility. So I think it kind of grew in that way. And it was really, really fun to play for Noel and for our staff this season, and just seeing the confidence that they have in me has really allowed me to grow in this league and as a player.
See questions from Zoom. Kevin and then Jeff. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Gabby, first real opportunity, it seems like, for you to go through the typical free agency process without prioritization as big of a factor. Curious how you plan to approach that, and have there been any more conversations with the Storm as part of exit interviews, that sort of thing, about the potential of the core designation and your desire to be unrestricted?
Ooh, that's a tough one to answer. So quickly after, our season just ended, and I'm not being facetious or anything. It's just I really just need some time, I think, to sit on it and think about it. We will obviously be having a lot of conversations. I am happy here, and I'm happy that I came back, and even if it wasn't the result that we wanted, I think it's very obvious that it was the right decision for me to come back here, just like personally, to come back to the Storm this season. So it'll be a lot of conversations. I can't say anything right now. I think I just need time to soak everything in.
Let's go to Jeff and then Christian. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Gabby, we talked about kind of your growth and everything and development this season. And I was just curious about, playing with Skylar and stuff, and being kind of filling in as the backup point guard as well, and maybe what you learned from her or working with her.
It's been really fun. Skylar's a dog, man. It's been really fun playing with someone, especially someone who has kind of like that level of competitiveness and like admiration for the game that, I kind of have. And to some people, maybe it seems intense for us to kind of be like that, but I love it. There's everyone wants to win, but like, who hates to lose? And that's what Skylar brings to us. And me, having to have more point guard responsibilities, obviously I'm going to learn from one of the best of all time with her. I've had the chance. I've really just been very, very lucky my entire career to play with amazing point guards. I've had Sue Bird, obviously, Courtney Vandersloot, Zsofia Fegbernecki in Hungary. Like Brianna in January. Like I've really just had like some great luck, and now I have Skylar Diggins. So it's been awesome playing with her. Also, just getting her off the ball too, and it's and her allowing me to bring up the ball myself and handle it as well has been a lot of fun too. So yeah, I kind of went on a tangent there, but playing with Skylar has been very, very fun. Also on defense too. Wow. It's been really fun.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Gabby.
Let's go to Christian, and then Jordan will wrap us up. Christian, go ahead.
Hey, Gabby, it's been quite of a whirlwind for you this season. First, preparing for the Olympics, and then joining Seattle halfway through the season, and then becoming a really crucial piece of the playoff run that I feel like didn't really get a lot of credit, especially on both ends of the floor. Where it felt like there was this need for energy or hustle, steal, point, whatever, kind of you delivered that. In a nutshell, what are you most happy about in this short time that you've had come back to Seattle, and possibly next season building off of that?
As far as like me personally or the team or
you as a player, most importantly.
I'm happy with how I've kind of been able to I think I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm sorry, but just like plugging in holes, they needed someone to kind of maybe get Skylar off the ball a little bit, and that me coming in helped. So I was happy I was able to help with that. Me taking more responsibilities on the offensive end has helped. Having that dynamic with Jordan has been fun. The times that we do get on the court together, just having like two athletic tall wings. I think I'm thinking of also one game specifically. I think it was LA. Where we were able to just kind of like be two terrors on defense. So just the fact that I'm able to just adapt myself to my teammates and be whatever, like, okay, I got Jordan on the court, that means we're running. Okay, I got Skylar on the court. Okay, that means maybe I'm helping her get her shot. I got Jewell on the court. Okay, how am I getting, I've known Jewell for forever. Playing with Jewell is the easiest thing in the world. So, and then adding, Nneka and Ezi, obviously we know very well, but just kind of being able to just be whatever my teammates need from me has been like my biggest accomplishment of the season.
And thank you. That is all the time we've got with Jordan. I apologize. We're not going to be able to get to you, but Gabby, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll keep things moving here.
Thanks.
By the way, so bear with me. Trying. Okay. But so I'm playing for like 3 months. So I'll get back to the States in like December. And after that I'll have like a little break, and then I'll eventually play in AU and then work out as much as I can. As far as my game, like I always want to improve. Now I get to play a little bit, so that should be fun. Just going out there and playing in actual games, getting game reps should be good for my confidence, for my game, for a lot of things. So blessed to be doing that. And then I have a little bit of time to work on my game, my all around game. So I'm excited about the off season. Always looking forward to getting better. You know, the consistent thing with me as I've, grown older is like every year that I've played this game, I've gotten better. So it's going to continue to get better. So yeah.
And that team is what is the team?
Queens. Queens in New Zealand. Tamari's gonna be playing with me. So Tamari, that's my girlfriend. You didn't know that already. We're playing together.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that. This season, first off, good morning. This season seems like you really were able to like get out of your shell and kind of found yourself,
Yeah, for sure.
found your voice on the court and off the court. Can you talk to us about the process? Who empowered you for that? Do you have like professionals helping you mentally and physically?
Well, yeah, I mean a lot. The season was, a lot. But I do feel like I did have a lot of great people around me. They know who they are. My mama, she always stayed in my ear. And who do I lean on? God. I pray. I pray a lot. And, I always believe that, whatever I'm being put through is for a reason. Whatever's going on is happening for a reason. And just, just trying to figure out, how I can be the best version of myself. But as far as like, my mental health and stuff, I feel like I'm in a great state, I'm in a great state of mind, great place. Um, I'm happy. My girlfriend's living with me. So, you know, I'm okay. Yeah.
Jordan, when you think about this season for Seattle, especially knowing what the team went through and where you were in the standings last year, what stands out to you as what was successful and where maybe the group can push the needle even further?
Yeah. I feel like for us, well, for one, we won 11 games last year. We got a few more wins in that column this year, but I feel like we had a lot of vets on this team, a lot of people with experience that's been here. Whereas last year, I mean, we had people that had experience and stuff, but it was just like it was different. It was a lot of young players as well. So with this team, I feel like it was our first year together. We had to figure out how we played together. I feel like a lot of these teams like Vegas, they've been playing with each other. So they've been what up? They've been like, they already every team goes through whatever they go through, but like at the end of the day, like it's about chemistry, how you play well, how you play together on the court. And I feel like we still had we didn't really figure that out, if that makes sense. But it is what it is. You can't really like dwell on it. You just gotta just see where you can grow and try to be better for next year.
Let's take some questions from Zoom, Kevin, and then
Hey, Jordan, is there anything in particular you're looking to work on or add to your game this offseason?
Nothing in particular. I'm just trying to work on my whole game, like I always do. I always work on every part of my game.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. And Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Jordan, kind of speaking of that, I thought the biggest difference from this year for you to last year was your improved efficiency. You went from about mid-30s% shooting to nearly 50%. What were kind of the keys for you in developing and improving that efficiency?
I feel like last year a lot of my shots were sped up. Allowed the games to speed me up. I feel like this year definitely slowed down a lot more. And I was able to, make the easy shots because a lot of the shots that I was missing, a lot of shots that I was missing was easy shots that I know I can make. It's just about taking my time, and just locking in and being patient. As far as this year, you know, I think I was a lot more focused because I needed to be. I feel like the team that we had, you need to be locked in if you want to stay on the court. So, um, it made me focus more on, I gotta put the ball in the basket. I gotta make the right read. I gotta not mess up. So, yeah.
And last question, we'll go to Christian. Christian, go ahead.
Hey, Jordan. This has kind of been a really good sophomore season, despite the way that the season's kind of ended in the playoffs. Speaking to Coach Quinn, also Coach Pokey, there has been a real belief that your confidence is kind of the main reason why you've had this kind of sophomore jump, especially the efficiency and then the points. I wonder, could you just speak to how that came to be? I know you said you're working out in Chicago with Jewell in the offseason, but also, you know, you have to do this yourself. It's not just coaches and players. You have to actually do the work.
Yeah. I do feel like my confidence got better this season. I mean, because I know, I've been playing this game my whole life, and I know the game. It's no matter what level you are, at the end of the day, it's basketball. So it's just just believing in myself, knowing I'm capable. I know I belong here, and just having game reps and stuff like that. Last year definitely helped. Being in the off season, working out with Jewell, seeing how what it takes to to be great. That allowed me to add some things to my routines and build more confidence while doing that. So I do feel like my confidence did play a big part of, the reason I was more successful this year. And now that, I know I belong, it's over with next year. It's over with, That's what I say.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate your time. We'll have
Appreciate it,
another player here in just a minute.
This was a atypical season for you, and obviously it just ended, but have you been able to kind of maybe put your finger onto why it wasn't as consistent as it has been in previous years?
For me,
Yes.
no, I mean, I haven't really been able to think about it. But I think, consistency's probably always been, as a bench player, my struggle or what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to be. I don't think I've ever been super consistent. So I feel like that's probably, maybe you feel like I've been even less consistent. I don't know. But in looking at it, I feel like that's always what I'm trying to be. And I feel like I always do come up a little bit short most seasons in that. And I think part of that is because as a bench player, your role does change game to game. I got basically DNP'd both playoff games, but I was starting just before that for 3 games. Throughout the course of the season, it's fluctuated. So I think, I'm always trying to be whatever they need me to be. And I think this year in particular, because it was a new group, a lot of new pieces, trying different things, doing different things. It just took a bit of working through that. So I was always, trying to do my best and stay prepared and do all of those things. And I think that's just, how it unfolded is how it unfolded. And, it's sport. You can't always, you can do everything you can do to prepare. And then sometimes, it just doesn't play out the way you want it to.
We're going back to the birth links this season?
No. Bendigo.
Okay. Considering that you're an unrestricted free agent for the next season, how much are you going to take into consideration this role? Are you looking to have more of a starter role? Personally, what is your priority when negotiating with another team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not unrealistic. I'm never looking to be a starter in this league. Obviously, I believe in myself and I back myself to be in any role, but that's not something that's, you know, on my agenda of things that I require when I'm talking to a team. But I do think, yeah, a role. What role do you have? What in my position? You know, what kind of players do you have ahead of me? How many? All of those things. I think how does the coaching staff view me in terms of their need, their fit, all of those things. I think all those things come into play. Obviously, I have a family, so that stuff comes into play. The city, the how the organization is run, all of those types of things really matter. But yeah, I think largely it'll just be about if I'm going to bring my family over and uproot them and we're going to do this, you know, a big part of it is that it's worthwhile for us. It's worthwhile for me. I feel like it's something that's still fulfilling me in terms of, you know, my love and joy of the game. So yeah, those types of questions will definitely be asked of any team that is interested if they are, and I'll just kind of take it from there.
In a similar vein, Sami, the entire league will have to deal with an expansion draft.
Mm-hmm.
There are also other things coming down the pike, including, I would imagine, other expansion drafts.
Mm-hmm.
But how, if at all, does that impact how you and your team prepare for everything that you just talked about?
Sorry, how does
regard to like how you're going into the off season, being an unrestricted free agent,
yeah, sure.
how much future proofing do you think with regard to where the league is comparative to where you are in your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, I think, too, like knowing the growth of the league, where we're at now, but where in another year or so, if we opt out and we do the new CBA, you know, and this new incredible media, you know, rights deal that they've done, like that's going to really impact you know, salaries and space on teams and rosters, all, you know, all of that stuff. And then additionally adding the new teams, however many we add, I think they want to have 16 by that stage. So there's a lot, you know, a lot of opportunities to still be in the league and to still, you know, compete and contribute. So I think that's definitely a part of where I'm at too. So all those things I'll definitely consider. I think, you know, do I want to be a part of, you know, a new team coming in if there's interest there? Or do I want to be on a team that's already sort of established and around? But, you know, I think it'll just be a case of what's the level of interest, the role, all of those things. I think I'm not going to be too, I don't think I'll consider too much the new team, expansion team, all of that in terms of where I go. But I do think, yeah, it's super relevant in terms of where I see myself in the next couple of years with regards to the league. Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Jeff Brown on Zoom and then Christian. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Sami, you were part of the 2018 and 2020 championship teams. This roster was also pretty stacked. What do you think were the kind of maybe the big differences, you know, first round playoff exit? Why do you think that kind of was the case compared to those previous teams?
I mean, I think there's no denying chemistry would have been a big thing. You know, we had, when I first came to Seattle in 2017, that team had already been together for a number of years. They'd really gelled. Obviously, we weren't that championship level team yet, but that next year, because of all of the sort of things that had happened up to that point, we were able to, you know, make that jump and become a championship caliber team. And I think a lot of that was due to the years that they had spent, you know, building that and growing those relationships, building that chemistry. So I think, yeah, we had a really great roster this year for sure. But, you know, you saw it, I think, you know, last year when they talked about New York being this new super team, like they were a phenomenal team too, phenomenal roster. But I think you can see the growth that they've made in just a year. And I think you just can't undervalue, you know, chemistry, time together, building those relationships. It all does really, really matter. So I think, you know, if this group were to be together for another year or two, I think there's no question in my mind we'd be a team that's capable of winning a championship. But it does just, some of those things just take time. It takes figuring it out on the floor. It takes going through these, you know, peaks and valleys. And I think to me, that's the biggest thing. I think both teams had incredible depth. Both teams had incredible players, incredible leadership, all those things. But those teams that won had that chemistry.
Thank you, Sam.
And last question to Christian. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, Sami, I feel like all the basketball questions have kind of been asked already. So I kind of just want to know, like, what are you going to do in the offseason? What are some things that you can't wait to do? Know that it's been a long season, that you can sit back and relax a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Australia with my family and we're gonna play there. But it's always nice to just be in Australia with our family, with Kate's family in particular, my wife. So we'll get to be with all of them, which is amazing. We haven't really had an opportunity to sit back and reflect on the Olympics and what this year has been. It's been a really special year for us. The end of last year, we welcomed our second son. So like we've got to do a lot of things with him this year as a family of four now. So I think all those things we're really looking forward to just being, home for us in Australia, being with family. That season's a little bit less hectic for us. So we get to do a little bit more stuff together. And then, we're really excited about approaching free agency and seeing kind of what's next for us with all of that. But yeah, I think we're really excited to go back to Australia.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sami, for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Tori.
Hey.
Hey, just as you approach this offseason, just what are your plans to for this offseason? And as you approach sort of free agency, what is going to weigh into your decisions as to what you're going to do, where you're going to go, and things like that?
This off season, I'll be going back to the school I played for, Mississippi State, to coach. So I'll be there for the entire off season. And for the free agency, I really don't know. I'm just finding the best fit for me at this point because, it's free and I just got to make the right decision.
So along you, Joyner, Sami, and Jordan, you just brought a big energy from the bench this year. Can you talk about how the bench communicates to bring that? And if you could also talk about what is your role this offseason with the WNBPA as you're the team representative?
Oh, okay. It's like, what are you talking about? But they always preach stay ready for when we came in off the bench. So I feel like we done it for the entire season. Like when we got our time to go in, we stayed ready. And we just tried to fix what's broken in the game. And if nothing was broken, just keep the energy going. So I feel like from that standpoint, we was very good in that aspect because we obviously did good things off the bench. With the WNBPA, obviously, the new CBA is coming up, so we're gonna be working on a lot of things with that. And then whatever is coming, obviously we promoting not voting rights to vote. So it's a lot of stuff going on with the WNBA that I'll be working with, and I'm pretty sure you'll see it because it'll be all over social media.
You talked about going back to the college game on the coaching staff. When you think about the ability as an active player to make that direct connection, not just for players, but for fans, for the entire women's basketball community, what do you hope you can bring to that pipeline of success?
Definitely with the sorry to cut you off. Definitely with the ladies from Mississippi State. I plan to bring on my professionalism. Obviously, I'm a professional athlete, and I know the girls want to be where I'm at or somewhere better. So I feel like I would bring that knowledge to them in that standpoint. My basketball IQ, like I'm really good. They call me coach around here, so I feel like I'm really good in that aspect, and I bring everything positive for the game to them. And I know the fans going to love it because I'm going back to my alma mater, so it's going to be really great. I just plan on bringing my young energy. I can say I'm still a little young right now, so my young energy back to the school. Well, listen, I'm gonna step in there a couple times now. Thank you.
Let's take some questions on the Zoom. Jeff, go ahead, and then we'll go to Christian.
Yeah, Tori, just talk about maybe the challenges of this season for you as far as kind of at times going from being a starter to then like limited minutes and, the role kind of changing throughout the season.
Yeah, it was a bit up and down for me. I really can't speak on it too much because I really don't know. But I just feel like every time they called on my name, I stayed ready, to be honest. My role did change a lot, which was unexpected, but you got to live with the punches and the blows for yourself internally. But I feel like they did what was best for the team in their mind. And I'm just appreciative to be here, honestly, coming from a different team and having the opportunity to play somewhere else. So I just take it as it came. Took it as it came.
Next.
Let's go to Christian.
Hi, Victoria. Being from the South yourself, I'm not from the South. My family's from Mississippi, but I'm born in, okay, I'm sorry. I was born in Chicago, but they're from Mississippi. Uh, the way we carry ourselves is different than any other people from, any other area in this country. Just kind of wondering, what does that mean for you as a professional and a player, and how does that embody your career to this point?
Honestly, I think it helped me in my career a long way because everybody calls me so nice and so sweet and so mannerable. The South say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, all that. So I guess it's beneficial in a way, but just me carrying myself like I was raised in a good home. So I just feel like everything I do, everybody's watching, my family's watching, so I gotta represent the name on my shirt. So that's why I carry myself the way I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tori, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Hey, Joyner, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
Hey, just in your 2 years, here, and just the reasons that you came back, how are you gonna maybe think about that as you kind of go into free agency again, maybe weighing some other possibilities, maybe a bigger role, but there's a lot of familiarity here, and so how is that gonna sort the way out?
Honestly, I don't even think I've thought about it. I mean, it's such a quick turnaround. We just played last night. So tough question to answer right now. I think in my off season, while I'm playing and stuff, I think I'll probably think about that in the next couple of months. But right now, I don't think that's like heavy weighing on my mind. But I mean, as you said, there is some familiarity here. So obviously my brain is and my mind is focused to come back to Seattle, and help us win a championship. But for right now, I honestly don't know. So yeah, it's a little early. I mean, we just lost like 12 hours ago, y'all. So out the gates with it, but no. It's okay.
Just in general, how do you evaluate your role with the team this season? And what are your plans for the off season? Are you playing somewhere?
I am I don't know, the evaluation is hard too, because I mean it just happened, but overall I could give myself a pat on the back. I think I've seen growth in myself, just not just basketball wise, but just like my mindset, my mentality, like just how I think about things and how I go about things now in regards to like what I probably would have done 2 years ago. But I think I had a decent season. Obviously, I always expect more and want more for myself. So that'll go into my free agency ideas as well. But I'm playing in Greece in the offseason, so I'm excited about that.
Joyner, when you think about this roster, this team this year, what do you think that the collective learned about the importance of taking time with each other to learn about each other on and off the court, and how to then have that reflect on what you do on the court?
I think we had a decent relationship outside of like on the court, as you guys can see. I think, playing with different people, and this is a different group, and people have a lot of stuff to do outside of basketball here. I've been on teams where I played in Connecticut where you had nothing to do and you had to, like I've been on teams like that. So it's just different. I mean, being in a bigger city in a bigger area and a lot more stuff to do in this environment, I think sometimes it is kind of hard to get outside of doing stuff outside of the court. But I think our relationship on the court and off the court, I think it was pretty decent. I don't think we had any issues there. In my opinion, it just takes time to build a team. I've been in this league for a little minute now, and it's difficult and it's so hard. And, with the super teams and things coming like that, I just think it just takes time. So, I pray and hope to God that we get this group back and we could try to run it back again. But you honestly never know. But I'm all for it outside team events. I'm all for it. So I really do hope that we actually can try to get this group back and go at it again.
Those things, or do you help like plan them?
I can kind of do both. It don't matter. It really don't matter to me. Yeah. If y'all want to hang out, we can do it, So yeah. I mean, like I said, we were in Connecticut, so I can make something happen.
Let's take a question from Zoom. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Joyner, I know for the entire bench during the playoffs, it was very limited minutes for you guys. Kind of maybe a two-part question. How challenging or difficult was it, especially like that fourth quarter of game one where the entire team just scores 2 points? And then as far as like seeing that, not being able to maybe make an impact. And then in general, with that playoff series against Las Vegas, what do you think? I mean, you guys had a 1 point lead in the fourth quarter of both games. So it's not like they blew you guys out or anything. What is maybe kind of the differences that you think put Vegas, on top of you guys?
I think it just goes back to my last answer. I think it's just the time it takes for teams to build. Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Alicia Clark, they've been together for 2, 3 seasons, So I think building that chemistry in the off season, during the season, I mean, like the way they started, I knew they weren't going to finish like that. So I think just, they have experience. They had the experience. I think you could tell in the critical moments, like they had the experience at that point in time. And so I don't, we got to have more time together, in my opinion. Obviously we all wish the bench could have helped out a little bit more, but we went with the game plan and, that's what happened. So.
Thank you.
All right. And I think that's it for our time with Joyner.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Just how has this sort of the season been for you? Just obviously with not getting a lot of time on the court, just what things did you do, I guess, off the court, behind the scenes that maybe people didn't see to maybe keep yourself ready and to improve? And lastly, we didn't get a chance to talk to you, but scoring that point, your first point in the final basket, your team went crazy. How did that feel?
Yeah, well, to answer your second question first, it felt amazing. It felt like, I was just talking to myself after I scored that basket. I was like, finally, oh my God, it just felt like this weight off my shoulders of this, I guess, subconscious pressure, or the weight that I put on myself throughout the season for no reason. Who cares, right? It's really not that big of a deal, scoring points or not scoring points in my position this year. I feel like I've grown so much off the court. There's so many things that I found joy in, that wasn't necessarily playing on the court. I had to, I've been put in this position for the first time in my life where I actually had to really, really fight for minutes and prove myself so much off the court. But I found joy in watching film, playing against the guys, working on off days, doing extra weight room. I started doing Pilates and, just figuring out ways in which I can be better that maybe I wouldn't have time or energy to do if I was playing on the court, So I feel like I used my time pretty well. I observed so much from the perspective of a bench player, which is rare that you get put in that situation. I was very grateful. I was thankful that I was put in this situation. I could have easily not been on the team. I could have easily went home and not being able to be a part of this environment, this team, the competitiveness, the playoffs. It was crazy. And I feel like I've learned so much that I'm going to not only apply now in Turkey when I go play overseas, but for the next season. And it's helped me tremendously. And like I've said, people look at it negatively so many times this year, and it's easy to fall into that, loop and a mindset or whatever, but I just didn't let myself do that ever. But yeah, I always felt like, do I pout and feel bad for myself and just not do anything about it? Or do I find little ways in which I can help my team, whether other people on the outside see it or not? I really did not care at all. So what mattered to me was the locker room, the coaches, and this building, and that's it. So yeah.
It's Besiktas, right? That you're playing?
Besiktas, yeah.
Besiktas, yeah.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, we talked about how the WNBA kind of lags a little with reaching international fans and catering to international players. I wanted to talk more specifically about the WNBA reach in non-English speaking countries, which is the case of your country and my country.
Yeah.
What do you think the league could do better? And do you see that that's an opportunity for the league?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there is a little bit of this connectivity, I would say, between Europe and the rest of the world and WNBA here in the States. There's a little bit of disconnect, I feel like you sometimes need players And of course, when you have American players that are so good and such limited amount of spots, it's hard for players from all around the world to get recognition. They don't necessarily have the platform to showcase their talents for these leagues to notice them, So it was an easy path for me because I went from college from one of the top universities such as UConn, where I did get the platform, I did get the viewership, people saw me play. So I would say I got an easy path to being here. Not to say that it was easy, but it was much easier than some of the players that don't go to college and stay in Europe or stay wherever they are in their countries in the world. So I feel like it needs to start from there also, more ways of and it's really hard because women's basketball over there is so in such a bad place. It's in a bad place. I feel like here in the States, we're starting to see it grow. We're starting to see it get the Jordan. Sorry, it's just we're starting to see it get the recognition that it deserves. But so many other countries are lacking it, and so many countries are way behind. And sometimes you need players like me or players like, other internationals that we have here in the league to kind of bring that attention to it in their countries. Like so many people in my country had no idea about WNBA, but seeing me and the media there, kind of pulling that story, pushing that story a little bit. Now a lot of girls, young girls, even boys see that it's possible and they want to work harder, which makes everybody around them work harder. So it's just like a full cycle, and I can sit here and talk about it for hours, but yeah, it just needs to be better, and I'll do my best to be a part of it and to help grow it in the future. Thank you.
Nika, you talked about finding joy throughout the process this year effectively. I think if I had to paraphrase, that's effectively what you were saying. I wonder though if there was a moment that has really motivated you to think about your next steps. You said you're going to play overseas and how you're going to then come back. Is there anything good, bad, and different where you're like, all right, putting it on the whiteboard, that right there is what's going to drive me to my next level?
I would say, like I've said, it's a lot of ups and downs in the process. It's hard for you to just fall in love with things that you maybe haven't been doing before instantly. It takes a little bit of time, understanding a lot of, I had to come to terms with myself that I need to get better. And that's the first thing. That was the first thing for me, that realization of okay, I just need to work harder. I need to do better, even though I was always given 100%. So I was like, how is this not translating for me that well yet? But I feel like one moment that kind of, if that's what you're asking me, correct me if I'm wrong though. One moment that I was like, what I'm doing is right and it's gonna get me to where I want to be is I remember we just had a regular team meeting, and Nneka actually had this speech about what each of us needs to do. And when Nneka starts talking, you can listen to her for hours. She's such a great speaker, and she translates her thoughts into words so well. And she just said something about me. It was just a small little thing. She just said, I see Nika here every day, and she's not getting minutes, but she's loud, she's clapping, that's what we need. That's what gets me out of my funk sometimes. And I was like, just hearing that from such a successful player, a vet, an all-star, and everything, it meant so much, even though maybe she didn't realize it in the moment, but how much it meant to me. But I was at the point where I was kind of fed up with so many things around me. There was just a lot of things going on, and that really, really helped me push me even harder, and just helped me understand that, hey, I'm on the right path, even though it's hard. But hearing those words from a vet of her success and the person who she is, just, pushed me even harder. Yeah.
Let's go to Zoom and take a question from Jeff. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Nika, there was you may have been just alluding to it just there, but there was a very kind of aggressive, loud online kind of social media push about, play Nika, why isn't Nika getting minutes, all those type of things. Can you just talk about maybe the challenges of either seeing that, reading that, hearing that, like that's not you saying, it's other people saying it, and the challenges of kind of hearing that, seeing that, and just trying to do your job.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, oh my God, it was just so many things this year that I love my fans. I love the fan base that was brought from UConn to the league. I love the new fans. I love the old fans. Without them, nothing happens. And, I always try to take my time to kind of give back. But a lot of times I did feel like a lot of times I didn't want to feel like what the fan base is talking about or how they're speaking or looking at the situation. And I appreciate the love and I appreciate them wanting to see me play. I really, really do appreciate all that. But I never wanted that to be what I was thinking or how I was feeling. And I've been in a situation a couple of times where I did feel like, other people might have thought that that's how I felt or how I thought, which it wasn't the case at all. Like I've said, I'm in this locker room. There's only there's only a certain amount of people in the locker room on the court that can actually see what's going on and how things are being approached to. And I never wanted that to get in my way. So a lot of social media I haven't been on. So a lot of things I haven't really seen, which is good. I feel like that helped me a lot. Just a lot of things like that can subconsciously get into your mind and without you even knowing, kind of dictate the way you think about things. And I never wanted that to happen to me. So I always appreciated the support, the love, the wanting to see me play, but I never wanted that to be the way I feel and the way I will approach the next day in practice, knowing that I might not play in a game, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Nika.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap up with Jordan. Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Nika. Hope you're doing well today. So I kind of want to ask a fun question. Last game of the regular season, you got your first WNBA points. Your team cheered you on, Sue Bird, and even your former college coach Gino was in the arena. So I guess just talk about what did that moment feel like, and just talk about was there any talks of you and Sue Bird about how you can evolve to be a better player both on and off the court?
Yeah, thank you. It was surreal. Like I've said, as soon as I scored it, I was like, man, like I cussed in Christian a little bit. I was just like, finally, I was so like, just finally to get that point out of the way. We're good now, like I felt like, okay, now I'm good. But I mean, there's so many things that happened for me the last 2 years that kind of aligned perfectly in a way that I'm able to have this story one day. And that game, like, I mean, DT's last regular season game, maybe, playing our last regular season game, Coach Ariema and CD, first game watching me, Sue Bird on the sidelines, my whole team cheering on me and being happy for me. Gabby, French people. I don't know. It just felt like, although it was like a crazy thing that it happened in the 40th game of the season, I felt like it was perfect for the storyline that I'm gonna have one day, hopefully, if I continue to work like this. And I'm just grateful for it. I wouldn't want it any other way. Like if you asked me that, I would still want that to be my first point, and I'm very happy that it happened the way it did.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I'm not gonna say what exactly she said. I mean, she was just, she was happy for me. She was proud of me. She knows how it is, she's got a little bit of Italian in her, so a lot of Italian in her. So I was so grateful to have been able to be there, yet along play in a game that's possibly her last regular season game, literally the greatest player of all time ever. I told her like I would have been I don't know if I told her that, but I told somebody I would have been in the stands watching that game if I wasn't playing on a team. So that to me was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And, I'm so proud of her for everything that she's done.
Nika, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.